The ticket is a great quick to tie caddis pattern that will fish great not only in caddis green, but in lots of different colors as well. We're going to start this fly off getting our thread attached and laying down a nice smooth thread base all the way down to the bend of the hook. Now don't go too far down into the hook bend. We don't want the fly materials to interfere with our hook set, and it keeps the fly looking nice and small. With that thread base complete, we can now tie in our D-rib. Now we want to tie this in right behind the bead so that we get a nice smooth body the whole length of this fly. Once you got that D-rib tied in, give it some nice tension as you work your thread all the way back to the back of the fly. That'll help keep everything nice and smooth and have a small tie-in. With that D-rib tied in all the way to the back of that fly, go ahead and bring your thread all the way back up behind the bead with nice touching turns. Try to keep the body of this as smooth as possible. With our thread back up behind the bead, we can tie in our holographic tinsel. Here I'm using a chartreuse for a more natural caddis color, but you can choose any of your favorite flash colors. I'm definitely making space in my fly box for this fly in orange, purple, pink, and who knows what other colors of flash. Now here I'm using a large size holographic tinsel, so you got to remember to not tie it all the way back to where the D-rib is. That first wrap is going to kind of lay back some, so give it just a little bit of space to where that can lay down flat for you. Right here you can see how that first wrap of that holographic tinsel lays down by keeping it a little bit away from that D-rib. And now we just want to take slightly overwrapping turns all the way up to right behind the bead. Now with this large size tinsel, a little bit of tension kind of helps stretch it out so you get a nice smooth body. With the holographic tinsel tied off, we can grab that D-rib and wrap it up to behind the bead. Now at first, it wants to move around on you a little bit, so just make sure that you get that first wrap either just on the hook or make sure it stays on that holographic tinsel, and then use a little bit of tension on that D-rib with these first wraps, and then you can loosen that tension the farther up the hook shank you get. That'll give this fly a nice little taper. You'll notice I kind of keep moving that D-rib around a little bit. With how this D-rib likes to kind of move on that holographic tinsel, that helps make sure that I keep each wrap tight to the last wrap and give you a nice uniform body. Now that we're up behind the bead with that D-rib, we want to make sure we take our time and get some really good thread wraps behind and in front of that D-rib. We don't want that pulling out of our securing wraps when we cut that material free. So make sure you get a few extra turns around that so that nothing happens to your fly when you get to this point. With that D-rib trimmed out, we're going to get a really thin dubbing noodle of some Caddis green ice dub to form a thorax and just kind of cover up all that thread around the bead. This spot right here is another place where I think it could be fun to mess around with this dubbing color, using either a dark olive or a black or a peacock black ice dub to really match what's in your local waters. With that dubbing noodle complete, we really just want to be able to go around a few times around the hook, covering everything up and kind of completing the taper of our fly. And then we can go right into our whip finish. With our whip finish complete, we can go ahead and trim our thread out, and you're ready to go fish the ticket. Thanks for watching.